The fleet hung in the void, silent and still, like a predator waiting to strike. Commander Thraxon of the Viekrel species stood on the bridge of his flagship, his many eyes staring at the blue-green marble suspended in the blackness of space, Earth. The Dominion had seen countless such worlds, inhabited by primitive, unrefined species, each one inevitably bending the knee to the superior might of the galactic Dominion. Thraxon let out a series of soft clicks, signaling satisfaction. The humans had proven remarkably difficult to contact at first, their world bursting with chaotic electromagnetic noise, layers of signals that scrambled long-range communications. Their systems were messy, crude, inefficient. It had taken weeks to decode enough of their broadcasts to send a message. And now he watched as Earth's leaders received his ultimatum. "Transmit the terms again," Thraxon ordered. The ship's communications officer, a smaller Viekrel, pulsed its chitinous plates. "Yes, Commander. They will receive." The Dominion's message was straightforward. Surrender unconditionally and join the Galactic Dominion as a vassal species. Earth would gain access to Dominion technology and governance but lose autonomy. Resistance would mean annihilation. It was the same message delivered to countless civilizations over the millennia. Thraxon's mandibles clicked with confidence. Humans would be no different. The human response arrived 2 hours later. It came in the form of garbled language, their leaders speaking hastily into cameras, and even to Thraxon's inexperienced ears, there was defiance in their tone. A Dominion linguist translated hurriedly, unsure of the exact nuance of human speech, but the meaning was unmistakable. "We will not surrender. If you come to our world, you will find only war." Silence spread across the bridge of Thraxon's ship. Viekrel did not understand this behavior. They had offered survival, assimilation, and guidance. Why would a species reject peace for war? The humans, "Refuse, Commander," the communications officer said, its voice tight with confusion. Thraxon's mandibles twitched, typical of undeveloped creatures. They cling to pride like a child to its toy. "Prepare the fleet to advance." With a hum of engines, the Dominion fleet, a massive formation of silver-gray warships, slipped into Earth's orbit. Across the human world, panic erupted. Thraxon observed their responses with faint curiosity. Fleets of small, primitive ships scrambled into the skies, weapons firing wildly but ineffectively at the Dominion ships. From orbital stations, humans launched projectiles, many of which missed entirely. They fight without strategy, Thraxon thought. Like insects swarming a flame, yet something felt wrong. Even as human ships were torn apart by Dominion lasers, they did not retreat. Instead, they pressed forward, hurling themselves into the fire. Some kamikazed straight into Dominion vessels, detonating explosives in a final, desperate act. Thraxon frowned. What are they doing? Don't they value their lives? One Viekrel lieutenant answered hesitantly. Perhaps they misunderstand the nature of this war. Commander, they understand nothing, Thraxon snapped. Order the bombardment to begin. Break their will. Dominion ships targeted Earth cities with precision. Pulses of blue energy lanced from the fleet, striking at human infrastructure, power grids, military installations, and communications hubs. The Viekrel expected the usual result. Panic, screams of surrender, a quick and clean resolution. But the humans did not break. Within minutes, Earth's surface retaliated with a force that shocked Thraxon's fleet. Nuclear warheads streaked from silos hidden deep underground, their trajectories haphazard but effective. Several Dominion ships were obliterated in fiery detonations. What is this madness? Thraxon roared. They target themselves to strike at us? Reports flooded in from Dominion commanders across the fleet. Human ground forces, untrained by Dominion standards, fought back with relentless fury. When Dominion drones entered their cities, human resistance fighters ambushed them from shattered buildings, launching improvised explosives and using projectile weapons to tear through Dominion armor. Thraxon's many eyes darted over holographic displays. The fleet had the advantage in every metric: technology, firepower, intelligence. And yet, Dominion forces were stalling. A pattern emerged. Where humans could not win, they would destroy. Where they were defeated, they would trap their enemies with booby traps, mines, and fire. A live broadcast flashed on the screen in front of him. A human soldier, face bloody and smeared with soot, held a crude weapon aloft in the rubble of what was once a city. He looked directly into a Dominion drone's camera and grinned. "Is that all you've got?" A shiver ran through Thraxon's carapace. "They're enjoying this." "Commander!" The communications officer interrupted his thoughts, panic thick in his voice. "The humans are counterattacking. They've breached the fleet's second line." "What?" A smaller ship, presumably human, had somehow maneuvered between Dominion capital vessels, using Earth's gravity well to slingshot at incredible speeds. On a collision course. "Evade!" Thraxon barked, but it was too late. The human ship struck one of the Dominion cruisers, erupting in a massive explosion that set off a chain reaction across 3 vessels. For the first time in his life, Commander Thraxon felt fear. "This isn't war," he whispered, mandibles trembling. "This is savagery," as the battered remnants of the Dominion fleet retreated into the void, leaving Earth scarred but unbroken. Thraxon's mind swirled with disbelief. He had seen war in many forms, but never this. A species who fought like they had nothing to lose, who turned desperation into victory, who saw death as a weapon. The humans would not surrender, and worse still, they seemed to thrive in the chaos. From the bridge, Thraxon's voice came out hollow. "Transmit my report. Tell the Dominion Council. We have underestimated them." He turned his many eyes back to Earth, watching its blue glow in the distance, and for the first time in his life, Commander Thraxon prayed he would never return. In the aftermath of the Dominion's retreat, Earth fell into a grim silence. Smoke choked the skies where cities once stood, and countless lives had been lost. Yet, in the ruins, humanity remained unbowed. Across the shattered landscape, soldiers and civilians alike rebuilt, scavenging weapons, fortifying their positions, and preparing for the inevitable return of the alien fleet. In a war room deep within an underground bunker, General Jonathan Pierce studied a holographic map of Earth. Red markers littered the screen, representing cities that had fallen or been bombarded by the Dominion. Around him, military leaders from different nations, their uniforms stained with soot and sweat, argued in urgent, hushed tones. "They're going to come back," Pierce said, his gravelly voice cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. "And when they do, we need to show them why they should never set foot here again." A younger officer leaned forward, his face pale but resolute. "But sir, their technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. If they send their full fleet, we can," Pierce interrupted. His steely gaze swept across the room. "We can because we're human. They don't understand us. And that's their weakness." The officers looked at him, uncertain. Pierce continued, pacing as he spoke. "The Dominion doesn't fight like we do. They expect enemies to kneel, to surrender when they see overwhelming force. But we're different. We don't surrender. When our backs are to the wall, we fight harder." He gestured to the map, where red markers were slowly being replaced with patches of blue, zones where human resistance had driven back the Dominion forces. "They underestimated us once. We'll make sure they regret it." The meeting adjourned with a renewed sense of purpose. Around the world, military leaders coordinated efforts, building a new type of war machine, one born of ingenuity, desperation, and a refusal to die quietly. In a makeshift military camp in the mountains of Eastern Europe, Sergeant Maria Kovalenko looked over her ragtag squad of resistance fighters. They were a mix of seasoned soldiers, civilians, and even teenagers who had picked up rifles in the aftermath of the invasion. Despite their patched uniforms and weary faces, there was fire in their eyes. "Listen up," Maria said, her voice carrying over the biting wind. "The aliens think we're weak. They think we're divided. They don't know us." She pointed to the sky. "When they come back, we'll be waiting. And we'll show them why humanity doesn't bow." The fighters cheered, lifting their rifles and homemade explosives into the air. Their tools were crude, their strategies unconventional, but they were united. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Humans turning factories into weapons foundries, farmers into guerrilla fighters, and cities into fortresses. Unbeknownst to the Dominion, humanity was learning. They had reverse-engineered fragments of alien technology, repurposed Dominion drones for reconnaissance, and adapted their strategies to fight a far superior enemy. The Viekrel believed war was won with strength and precision. The humans believed war was survival at any cost. And that would make all the difference. The Dominion returned sooner than expected. Their ships darkened the skies once more, blotting out the sun as if to declare the inevitability of their conquest. Earth's surface trembled as massive landing pods crashed into the ground, unleashing battalions of Viekrel soldiers and their towering war machines. This time, however, they were met not with fear but with fire. The first major battle occurred in the ruins of what was once Berlin. The Dominion's ground forces moved methodically, confident in their overwhelming firepower. Giant walkers stomped through the broken streets, their energy cannons vaporizing buildings as they advanced. Hover drones buzzed like angry hornets, tracking and eliminating resistance pockets with surgical precision. But the humans were no longer predictable prey. From the shadows of collapsed buildings, soldiers emerged, hurling explosives made from scavenged Dominion parts. The alien drones spun wildly before crashing to the earth, their circuits fried. Guerrilla fighters detonated underground traps, turning roads into fire-filled pits that swallowed the advancing walkers whole. Above, human-engineered drones, primitive compared to the Dominion's but effective, swarmed enemy formations, dropping makeshift bombs with deadly accuracy. The Viekrel commander overseeing the assault, a towering figure wrapped in armor of gleaming obsidian, watched the carnage unfold from his warship. His angular face twisted in confusion as reports poured in. Human resistance persists, his lieutenant hissed. They use primitive weapons but are effective. How? The commander growled. How do they still fight? Their cities are ashes, their armies shattered. They should kneel. But the humans refused. In the streets below, Sergeant Maria Kovalenko and her squad fought like cornered wolves. They moved through the rubble like ghosts, using the terrain to their advantage. They struck and disappeared before the Viekrel could react, leaving their foes disoriented and furious. Maria watched through cracked binoculars as one of their improvised bombs destroyed an entire Viekrel supply column. "See that?" she shouted to her team. "They bleed. They're not gods. They're beatable." The squad cheered, their morale burning brighter than the fires around them. Elsewhere, General Pierce led an international coalition of resistance leaders. Using captured Dominion maps and hacked communication lines, they orchestrated coordinated attacks across the globe. For every city the Dominion razed, the humans made them pay dearly. Ambushes in dense forests, sabotages in industrial ruins, and even underwater strikes on Dominion supply depots became daily occurrences. The Viekrel were masters of conventional warfare, but humanity fought on their own terms, dirty, desperate, and relentless. Weeks into the second invasion, Dominion forces reported something unheard of: widespread demoralization. Their soldiers, unused to an enemy that refused to surrender, began to hesitate. The commanders could not fathom the humans' tenacity, their ability to endure losses that would break any other species. "Why do they fight like this?" one Viekrel officer muttered, shaken after an ambush. The answer was simple: because humanity had nothing left to lose. And a species with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous enemy of all. The Dominion's once unshakable confidence began to fracture. The Viekrel warlords, who had crushed dozens of civilizations before humanity, now whispered doubts across their command channels. Earth was proving to be a battlefield unlike any they had ever faced. It wasn't just the unrelenting resistance, it was the humans themselves. In the ruins of Tokyo, a Dominion War Council surveyed the destruction. What had started as a clean operation to subdue the city had devolved into madness. Every street became a death trap, every shadow a threat. Ambushes struck like lightning, brief, brutal, and unexpected. Dominion soldiers patrolled nervously, their once imposing ranks now twitching at the slightest sound. "Commander," a Viekrel officer reported grimly, "our patrols have been halved. They will not enter the subway systems again. The humans. Hunt there. The commander scowled. Hunt? They are prey, not predators. But even as he said it, he couldn't ignore the truth. The Viekrel had come expecting orderly battles, decisive victories. What they found was chaos. Humanity fought with a savagery that defied reason. They used every weakness, every oversight, every ounce of terrain to their advantage. Bombs disguised as rubble, sniper fire from unseen rooftops, traps that turned Dominion machines into twisted metal. All of it forced the Viekrel to retreat time and again. The humans didn't play by the rules of war. They made new ones. In one of the Dominion's secure bunkers, a Viekrel war strategist stared at footage recovered from recent skirmishes. He watched a squad of human fighters, faces smeared with ash, storm a Dominion artillery position using nothing but scavenged weapons and sheer will. Explosions erupted, bodies fell, but the humans didn't stop. They never stopped. He paused the footage, his claws tapping nervously on the table. They fight like beasts, he muttered, voice trembling. There is no fear in them, only rage. Elsewhere, on the front lines, General Pierce addressed the scattered human resistance via a broadcast. His image flickered on makeshift screens and holographic projectors. A weathered face surrounded by flags of once divided nations. To the Dominion, we are insects, he began. But they don't understand the truth. They've mistaken our desperation for weakness, our grief for surrender. He paused, his eyes hard as steel. We are not weak. We are human. And on this battlefield, there is nothing more dangerous than a species that refuses to die. Across the war-ravaged earth, his words lit fires in the hearts of survivors. In Africa's deserts, tribes armed themselves with repurposed alien tech. In Europe, urban militias turned fallen cities into labyrinths of death. On every front, humanity's will to fight burned brighter than ever. Back aboard their fleet, Dominion warlords debated their next steps. They had the power to turn Earth into a wasteland, but to what end? The humans would not stop. Even if nothing remained but dust and ash, they would fight. And so, for the first time in the Dominion's storied history, a species made them reconsider war. The humans had proven one thing. The Viekrel could conquer planets, but they would never conquer humanity's spirit.